I felt pretty good that I'd saved the patrol by seeing this German reach for his gun, but I felt kind of funny that it was the first time I had killed somebody right in front of my eyes. I was a field artillery forward reserver, used to adjusting artillery fire, and I went up with the infantry squad, and they were going out on a night patrol. So I asked them if I could come along, and they says an extra officer is always handy. Make sure you have your weapon and make sure you have your first aid kit on you. So I had a Thompson submachine gun M28 with a 50-round drum that I had loaded that day. And we took off, headed north where the Germans were. And we didn't have to go too far through the woods till we came to an old Italian barn. And we, all of a sudden, the squad leader goes like this, absolute quiet. And we had made up finger signals that if you saw anything, you pointed to your eyes and pointed in the direction where the noise was coming from. And we had our dog tags sealed in rubber so they wouldn't jingle or make any noise. And we ended up hearing some German voices in the old building. So the squad leader gives the silence sign and he motions that they were right-hand side, and we could see the light coming out the edges of the door. So he signaled he was going to throw the door open and throw a grenade. Well, all of us had grenades fastened to our webbing straps. So he pulls the pin on the grenade, and all of a sudden swings the door open and rolls the grenade in on the floor, and we all duck down. And 5 seconds later, the grenade goes off, and we rush in. The shock and awe of the grenade is supposed to make the victims startled, and if they're close enough, they get mortally wounded. But we all ran in the building, and there were maybe half a dozen. Well, the ones that were close to the grade grenade were what we call hors de combat. They were useless. So I had my Tommy gun in my hand and was swinging it, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, a German who had been lying in a corner was reaching for his Mauser rifle. And I quick aimed the Tommy gun at him and pulled the trigger, and it first 3 or 5 shots, and he leaned down and fell over to the side. And the guys that leading the squad said, "Quick thinking, Lieutenant." And I said, "Yeah, I was scared." So we went over to the stairway, and there was a guy coming down with his hands up, "Kamerad, kamerad." And he says, "Well, we got a live prisoner, and what are we going to do with the rest of them?" And I said, "Whatever you say, you're the squad leader." He says, "Well, my captain told me this morning a good German is a dead German, so we might as well." I think we captured 2 prisoners. One had a slight arm wound, and the second one was okay. So we left a guy back with a grease gun, and the grease gun was a very cheap stamped steel 45 caliber, like a Tommy gun, but the Tommy gun was machined, and this was stamped out, and it had a barrel with a 90-degree turn, so you could put it around the corner of a building and actually fire at 90 degrees. Because the barrel didn't last very long, but so we left a guy back and we grabbed the prisoners and started back on a hurry, because we knew the firing would attract attention. We didn't know how many men. And as we were leaving the area, we heard the guy firing, and we assumed he killed the rest of the prisoners, because we couldn't take them back with us. And so we got back, and the infantry lieutenant said, "We'll take these 2 prisoners, one who was wounded slightly, and the other was deafened a little bit." We were all a little bit deafened. So we got back to the cave where we were living and pulled back the shelter half that covered the cave and lit a candle. And we said, it's been a successful night, but I was kind of befuddled. I had taken my Tommy gun, which I had shot a lot. The Tommy gun worked from an open bolt position, so it didn't have sights on it. So it was shoot from the hip. And I felt pretty good that I'd saved the patrol by seeing this German reach for his gun. But I felt kind of funny that it was the first time I had killed somebody right in front of my eyes. And I didn't, it didn't give me the feeling of looking through my field glasses and watching an artillery shell kill somebody. I was disconnected from that, but this one, I don't think I went on another patrol like that, because I said the infantry getting paid to do this, and I trained as a field artillery officer, and I was damn good at adjusting artillery fire. So I was more valuable to the artillery than I was to the infantry. So we parted company, and I went back to my unit, and they said, "What happened?" And I said, "Oh, you know, the usual." And I just passed it off. And I never wrote that story up because I didn't want my kids to know how foolish I had been, because they were desperate for infantry officers. The guy who was assigned to, I found out later, his brother had been killed in another battle, and he was dead against Germans. So when the sergeant picked him to finish off, he was glad to do it. But
that's the man with the grease gun.
Yeah, and this little gun was stamped very cheap to make, and it was called a grease gun because it looked like a grease gun with a metal covered thing, and this barrel that, if one straight barrel and one curved barrel, and they used to like that in tanks because they could put it out the porthole of the tank and fire it like this and kill people climbing on the tank to drop a Molotov cocktail. We had white phosphorus shells, WP, which in the phonetic alphabet was Whiskey Papa. And we'd call for Whiskey Papa. And they'd fire the white phosphorus, which was smoke. But the white phosphorus was wonderful in that it would get on your skin and burn, and it would hit the blood, and it would fizzle. And when you could get the Germans to hit with the white phosphorus, you'd see them running, and they'd be grabbing a knife and trying to cut it out because it burned. It was like liquid, and it would burn through. And it was supposed to be for smoke, but it actually was anti-personnel. So we used the white phosphorus against enemy soldiers.
And my understanding with white phosphorus is that simply putting water on it wouldn't put it out.
No, it like liquid, so after it burned through your skin and hit the blood, it would get hotter. And the only way to relieve it was to take a chunk of flesh out with a knife, which was difficult to do.